Hi and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to read in from a CSV file using Java. So this is a CSV file that we have currently. So we have names, the salary that they have, the level if they're experienced, whether they're an intern, the points that they've gained, and some comments. So just by looking at the CSV file, we can see that with the names we have some duplicate names such as Tom, with one being capitalized and one not, and some duplicate salaries as well, £11.16 on Ali and also on Mila. And also we just capitalized just some of the words, just so inside Java we can then use some functions such as lowercase functions, so to lowercase, to show you how to work around that. So the purpose of this video is using Java, we will be able to see which of these employees we want to have promoted. So for an employee to be promoted, they will need to get a point above 24. Also, they need to be experienced, and on top of that, there can't be no other person with the same salary, and there can't be no other person with the same name. So even though Mila and Ali, for example, have both points more than 24, they can't be promoted as they both have the same salary. I know it's a dumb excuse, but to show you how to work around a CSV file. And also Tom can't be promoted even though he's experienced, because there's two Toms. So just to show you the results, how it would look like. So we have here, just to look down, so we have employee with name Abdullah, which is the first one, with a salary of 24, can't be promoted as points 22, which he has, is smaller than 24. Can be promoted as points is 26, which is greater or equal to 24. The salary is 1650 and the name is Sarah. So Sarah here can be promoted as shown because she has a salary of more than 24 and also she's experienced. Employee with name Tom and salary 25 can't be promoted as there is more than one employee with the same name Tom. So if there's two employees with the same name, they can't be promoted. Scott, he can't be promoted as he is an intern. We have also Tom, the second Tom. He can't be promoted as there is more than one employee with the same name Tom. So we included both the capitalized Tom and the small Tom. Employee with name Ali and salary £11.16 can't be promoted as there is more than employee with the same salary, because Ali has £11.16 and also so does Mila, so they can't be promoted. Can be promoted as points is 24, which is greater or equal to 24, and the current salary is 18 and the name is Fatima, so Fatima can be promoted. An employee with name Mila, salary £11.16, she can't be promoted because why? Again, someone else has the same salary at £11.16. I know the excuse is quite weird, but it's just to show you how to work around a CSV file. And to get all this printed out, we used Java. So here I'm going to show you throughout this video how to read in the CSV file, how to use hash map and map in regards to the duplicate values such as Tom and the salary. And also I'm just going to show you just how to ignore the cases when it comes to the experience, for example, and just read in the file and just really print out what you want depending on the data inside the CSV file, and also teaching you how you would do try and catch and use the Bufferedreader as well. So if this is something you would like to see how it is done, then please watch on. Okay, so to start off with, what I'm going to do is I want to first import some Java utilities and Bufferedreader and file reader so the program can work. So we're going to do import java.io. I'm first of all going to import a Bufferedreader, so this will allow us afterwards to read the lines in the data. I'm also going to import a file reader, so again this will allow us to read the file. I'm also going to import an IO exception, so this will allow us to catch any errors and also explain to us in details on what the errors are so it can then be easily fixed. I'm also going to import a hash map. So what a hash map does, it will allow us, when it comes to the CSV file, when it comes to dealing with duplicates such as having two names as Tom, for example, we can then handle that. And same thing with map. So import java.util.map, and I'll explain that later when we get to it. Okay, so this is a normal Java file. So a normal Java file will have a public class, and I'm going to name it employee system just as my file name here. I'm just going to close the bracket over here as well. What I'm going to do also, I'm going to have a public static void main, again just how a usual Java file would have. So it's not as much difference as you would have if you were going to use Eclipse or NetBeans. Okay. So now first of all, what we're going to do now is we want to grab the input file. So we're going to do string CSV file. I'm just going to name it CSV file. I'm going to leave it empty, so I have an empty string. So now I'm going to have a try and catch. So I'm going to do try. So if the user entered a file which is there, we're going to do CSV file equals arg0. So that means that a file is there and it's been inputted. And if not, we're going to catch any errors. So we're going to do catch. Oops. Exception E. I'm going to have a system.out_print. I'm just going to write down, please provide the file name, because if you catch an error, so here, if the user entered the file name, it will go, but then if not, I'll just display an error saying, please provide the file name. And also, if there's anything else, we'll get an error message. Okay, so I'm just going to close this. I'm just going to do system.exit 0. Okay. So now we've got the file. Okay, so now we'll work out the next step. So as you can see inside the CSV file, we have some columns. We have the name column, salary, level, points, and comments. So they're as if they're split into columns using the comma. So the comma is basically, you can say it as a line. So we have name, all this is one column, salary per hour, 24, £16.50, £25.80, this is all in one column, level, points, and comments. So basically what we're going to do now is we're going to use these commas to split them up into different columns. So then we can able to deal with each column separately. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to do string line. It's going to be an empty string. And then I'm going to do string. I'm going to call it CSV split by. I'm going to split it by the comma, like so. Okay, so now remember at the start, I said regarding the duplicate. So we have in the name, we have 2 Toms. In the salary, we have £11.16 coming twice. So now I'm going to do now, I'm going to use something called a hash map. So what a hash map does, it allows a key and a value, and it will allow us to keep counts of the names as well as the salary. So basically it will store them inside for now. So we're going to do map. First we're going to keep count of the names. So we're going to have the key and a value, so string integer, and I'm going to name it name occurrence, new hash map, string integer. Okay, so now I'm just going to copy this, and also we're going to have the same thing for the salary. So we're going to keep count of the salary. So I'm going to name this salary occurrence. Okay. So now the next step is we're going to use the Bufferedreader, which we imported here, and we're going to read the file, and we're going to get the counts of the salary and the names. So we're going to do try Bufferedreader, we're not name it BR, equals new Bufferedreader, new file reader, and here we're going to call the file that's been inputted, which is a CSV file, like so. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create an integer count and I'm going to have it as 1. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop around the CSV file. So I'm going to do while line equals, we're going to read the lines, read line, yep. Okay, so when we loop around the lines, and if the line is not empty, so as you can see they're not empty anyway, so if it's not equal to null, we're going to create a string. I'm going to create a string of arrays. I'm going to call it data, and inside here we are going to have all the columns. So we're going to split them up using the comma here. So we're going to do line dot split CSV split by, meaning we're splitting it up using the comma, like so. So just to recap, we're basically looping around the CSV file, and if it's not null, we're basically going to split them up using the commas, and we're going to store them into an array called data. Okay, so now I'm just going to write a condition here. What I'm going to do is I just want to skip this header because this is not really important. The main focus for us is the data itself. So just to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have an if statement. I'm going to say if data dot-length is less than 4, okay, I'm going to have an or as well, or data, the first column, so I'm going to do 0. So now because we split them up using the comma, the first column, which is the name, would be 0, salary per hour column would be 1, level would be 2, points would be 3, and comments would be 4. So if data 0 dot, this equals ignore case. So here we're basically ignoring the capitalizations right now. If it is the name, so basically if the first line has the name here, the term name, we're going to skip that. So we're just going to do continue, like so. Okay, so now going back to the name occurrence, what I'm going to do now is basically, since we're looping around it, we're going to say, basically here we have 2 Toms, and we don't want no duplicates right now, so we want to store them somewhere. Basically we want to say that if the name is already there in the map, so if Tom is already there in the map, we're going to increment the count by 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do if name occurrence dot get the first column, which is 0. I'm going to have it to lowercase, because if I didn't do it to lowercase, Java wouldn't know that Tom capitalized and Tom small case is the same thing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to keep them all to lowercase. That way we can then see if they're the same. So if name occurrence dot get, we're getting the first column to lowercase. Okay, does not equal to null, and it doesn't equal to null, as we can see, because they all have names. Okay, I'm just going to close that. We're going to do count equals name occurrence dot get data, the first column, 0, to lowercase plus 1. So basically we're saying here that if the name is already there inside the map, we're going to increment and add it by 1. That means, so for example, if we looped around it and we found Tom, and again we found another Tom, we're going to add 1. Okay, so now I'm just going to include that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do name occurrence dot put data 0 to lowercase count. Okay, I'm going to close that. Again, so here we're saying that if the name is already there in the map, we're going to increment the count and the name by 1. Else, I'm going to have an else statement now, and here what I'm going to say is if the name is not there in the map, so if there's no duplicates, we're going to set the count just as 1. So it'd just be 1 itself, rather than it being 1, we're adding 1, that's going to be 2, it's just going to be standard 1. So else name occurrence dot put data 0 to lowercase, and it's just going to be 1, like so. Okay, and now we did this with the name, and as we go back here, we can see for the salary we also have duplicates, such as we have Ali and Mila both receiving a salary of £11.16. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy, instead of writing this all over again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this. So copy this and paste this. Okay, so now instead of if name occurrence, we're going to have salary occurrence, since we called it here. So if salary occurrence dot get, now it won't be data 0, it won't be the column 0, instead it will be column 1, which is the salary per hour. So 1, and we don't need dot lowercase since we're using numbers now, not letters. Okay, so basically, if the first row is not null, so if the salary data is not null, which is not, we're going to do count equals salary occurrence dot get data, again 1. We don't need this no more. Add 1 to it, and then again switch this to salary occurrence dot put, again column 1. We don't need to lowercase count, else salary occurrence dot put 1. Again, we're just going to remove this. So basically the same thing here. So basically, if the salary is already there in the map, so if it's the same value, then increment the count back for the salary by 1. So it will be 1 plus 1 will be 2. Else, if the salary is unique and there's no duplicates, we're going to have it as 1. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to close this. Okay, I'm going to have one more closing bracket. Yep, so that's 3 closing brackets. And now I'm going to, since we have a try, we also need to have a catch now. So I'm going to do catch. I'm going to catch any errors that we may experience. So catch IO exception E. So we're going to print out the error. So e.print trace. Okay, I'm just going to close that like so. Okay, so I'm just going to add, I think, one more bracket here. I think that should be fine. So I'm going to look over my code and see if I have any typing errors. Okay, so a bracket is needed here. Okay, and also I think, yeah, not equal should be together. So over here as well, I'm just going to put these two together. Okay, like so. I'm just going to double check and see that everything is okay. Okay, I think that should be fine. Okay, let's now check it in the terminal. So my file employee system is in the desktop, so I'm going to do cd desktop, and I'm going to do cd CSV reader, and I'm going to do Java employee system, which is the file name, .java. Okay, so we're not getting any errors, which is good for now, and also we can see another file being generated. So now what I'm going to do Java employee system. I'm going to do employees, which is the CSV file .csv. And okay, I think so far we have no errors, which is good news. So now we can move on to the next step. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just after here, we're now going to read in the file basically again. So we can do try Bufferedreader br equals new Bufferedreader. So same thing as we did before, new file reader, and again we're reading in the CSV file like that, just like so. Okay, and same thing, we're going to loop around it. So I'm just going to copy this again, so writing it again. I could also copy the first one as well. Okay, so now we're looping around them. And same thing as before, we're going to split the data up using the comma. So just like that. So we have string and we're splitting it up by the comma itself. And also, I'm also going to copy this as well to basically skip the first line since we don't really need it. Okay, so far as you can see, it is very similar. Okay, so now the next step is I'm just going to go here, and as you can see, when it comes to the points, we have 22, 26, and they're all numbers. So from here, what we're going to do, we're going to get the points of the employees using a float. So we're going to do float. I'm going to call it point equals float dot parse float. So we're going to passing it as a float, and data, and now this is column 3 we're using. So go back here, so 0, 1, 2, the points are column 3. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm now going to check. So now we're going to play with the data. So as you can see inside the CSV file, what we're going to do is we're going to basically print out all the employees which are experienced and also who have a unique salary and also a unique name. So let's do if data 2. So if we go back here, data 2, 0, 1, 2 is the level. So if data 2 dot, we're going to do equals ignore case. So we're going to ignore any of the case and capitalizations. If they are experienced, okay, and if the salary occurrence, this is where the hash mark comes in. So if the salary occurrence dot get, so the salary is the column 1, so data 1 equals 1. So if salary occurrence is 1, meaning that if you can see here, being that there's no other duplicate value, so over here, as you can see, the only duplicate values we have is Ali and Mila, so them two should not be included. Okay, so if the salary occurrence is 1, and also, and I'm going to put it down here. Okay, so let me just double check. Okay, and the name occurrence is also 1, meaning there's no other person with the same name. Oops, so data 0. Again, we're going to make it to lowercase. Again, like I said before, Java doesn't distinguish if it's capital letters and lowercase. It wouldn't know they're both the same. So equals 1, an open bracket. So far all we have is if the person is experienced and there's no other person with the same salary and there's no other person with the same name, we're going to do if also if the point that they have is more or equal to 24, let's say, we're going to do system.out.print. I'm going to write can be promoted as points is, okay, so I'm going to do concatenations. So what I need to do is I'm going to close this first of all, plus point, plus also concatenate with another string. We're going to write which, let's do a space here as well, which is greater or equal to 24. I'm going to close that. I'm also going to do system.out.print. I'm going to write and their current salary is, okay, let's put the salary wrong. We're also going to concatenate that. So we're not going to do plus salary, we can't do that because we don't have it included. So what we're going to do is going to do plus data 1, so this is the column 1. And then we do system.out.print. And we can say, and their name is, we're going to have the name, which would be the column 0, like that. And then I'm going to close this, and then we can have an else statement. We can have else system.out.print. So if the employee has a point less than 24, they can't be promoted. So we're going to write employee with name, whatever the name is. So inside here, and the salary, which would be the column 1. We're going to write can't be promoted as points. Going to plus point. Oops. Okay, so plus point. I think I'm going to go under. Okay, it's just so you can see that I'm just going to drag this a bit. Okay, so plus point is smaller than 24. Just going to close this. Okay. So now, as you can see here, okay, if the employee is already experienced and there's no other employees with the same salary or the same name, and if they've got a point of more than 24, they can be promoted. Else, we're saying that they can't be promoted as the points, whatever points they have, is smaller than 24. I think I'm also going to put a plus here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to test if this works on the terminal. So let's just end this for now, then we can continue doing the rest. I'm just going to close the bracket. I'm going to do system, so .out.print like so. Okay, I'm just going to close bracket, close another one, and then we can do the catch. Because we have a try, so it needs to be followed by a catch. So we're going to do catch IO exception E And again, same thing as before, so e dot print stack trace. I'm going to close that. Then we have these two closing brackets. Okay, so now I'm just going to go back to the terminal and run and see if this works. Okay, so I'm going to open a new terminal. Okay, I'm going to cd desktop and then cd CSV reader. Okay. On this first. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead. Okay. So now as we can see, we've got successful results. So we have employee with name Abdul Taleb, who has a salary of 24. He can't be promoted as he's got a point of 22, which is smaller than 24. We have here Sarah, who can be promoted as she has a point of 26, which is greater or equal to 24, and her current salary is £16.50. And same thing with Fatima, she has a salary of £18.40, and she can be promoted because she has a salary which is greater than 24. So if we go back to the CSV file and compare it with the terminal, we can see here that we've got successful results. So now we can, as you can see, we have some spaces here, and the reason why we have those spaces is because we're looping it using a while loop. So basically it goes through all the data. So now we can now extend this to fill the white spaces, and also we can also evaluate all the employees. So now we can go ahead and continue. Okay, so now after these two, okay, so this is done now. So basically we've said that if they're experienced and if there's no duplicate salary and no duplicate name, we're going to print the person out, which the result we have is Sarah and Fatima. And else, if they are experienced but they have a point which is below 24, it will also print that out as well, which here we have Abdul Taleb. Okay, so now let's continue off this. And what if the person is not experienced but is an intern? We can do that now. So we can say else if data, which is going to be column 2, again ignore any cases, so we're going to do equals ignore case. So if the person is an intern, and we do have one intern as shown in the CSV file, and the intern we have is Scott. So if it's an intern, we're going to do system.out.print, and we're going to say employee, okay, with the name. We can do more concatenation. So whatever the name is here, which would be Scott, plus the salary, which is column 1. We're going to write they can't be promoted. So Scott can't be promoted as they are an intern. I'm just going to write it like so. We could also do as they are and data are equal to as well. So when we're as they are an intern, like so. Now I can close this. And now let's see this into action. So I'm going to save this. So we should get the result of Scott. Oopsie, I'm just going to need to load the file again. Okay, so we have employee with name Scott, salary of 1060, can't be promoted as they are an intern. So that is working correctly now. So now, as we did at the top here, I said that if the name occurs, if there's a duplicate name, so if they occur more than once, we've added a count of 1, meaning it will be more than once. So in this case, since Tom appears twice, it will be a count of 2. So let's have an if statement which will display that. So now if we go back down here, what we can do is let's start off with salary, for example. Actually, let's do with name. So we can do else if name occurrence dot get data 0. So let's make it to lowercase. Okay. If it's more than 1, so if it's 2, which in this case would be, we're going to do system.out.print, and we're going to write down employee with name, which in this case would be Tom. Oops. Yep. So with the name Tom. And then we do, yep, so plus and salary, close that, concatenate that to the salary, which is column 1. We're going to write can't be promoted as there is more than 1 employee with the same name. And then also we could do is we can also do, if we wanted to as well, we can just do plus data 0 to lowercase, like so. I'll just close that. I'm just going to put this to the bottom like so, just so you can see that more clearly. Okay, so now we could also do, actually let's test this out first and see if it works fine. So save this. So here we're saying that basically if the name has a duplicate, so for example Tom, they can't be promoted, which is obviously a dumb reason, but it's just to show you how the program would work. So I'm just going to go ahead, first of all, run the file. Okay, so I have some errors. Okay, so I'm forgetting some concatenations here. Okay, so that should be fine. Okay, so now I'm just going to do this. So now if we go back, so here we can see that employee with name Tom and salary this, 20 can't be promoted as there is more than 1 employee with the same name Tom. So as you can see here, both of the Toms have arrived. So employee with name Tom capitalized and salary of £25.80 can't be promoted as there is more than 1 employee with the same name Tom, and same thing for here. So as you can see now, both of them are appearing and they're saying that they can't be promoted, which of course, again, is a dumb reason, but just to show you how the program works. So lastly, let's do the salary. So as we can see, go back to the CSV back in the terminal, we're not seeing Mila appearing here as well as Ali. Why? Because they both have the same salary of £11.16. So if we go back here, we can, I think I'm just going to copy this, just again to make life more easier. I'm going to paste it here as well, make it more readable. So now we can do else if, not name occurrence, but if salary occurrence, dot get, obviously it's column 1 for the salary. We don't need this. So if it's more than 1, so if the salary has been repeated more than 1, we're going to print out employee with the name and salary of this can't be promoted as there is more than 1 employee with the same salary. We're going to print out salary again. It's a dumb reason, but yeah. So now I'm going to save that. And now we should now get Mila, and I think it was Ali as well. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so we have Ali here, so employee with name Ali can't be promoted as there's more than 1 employee with the same salary, And if we find Mila here as well, so employee with the name Mila and salary 11.16 can't be promoted as there's more than one employee with the same salary. So now we've looped, using the while loop, we've looped around all the data, and here we've printed out the results, whether they can be promoted or whether they can't be promoted. And just to show you how to work with CSV files and hash maps, I've used the really dumb excuse to not have them being promoted just because they have the same name. But of course, depending on your CSV file, you can work it out to how it can work. Okay, so as shown, inside the CSV file, we also have comments, but we didn't really use this. I'm just going to show you if maybe you wanted to use it and see how you would incorporate it. So just to show you, what I'm going to do is just inside here, I'm going to do if, as you can see here, we did if data.length is less than 4, so that doesn't include the comments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have another if statement here. So if data.length is more than 4 and data, which is going to be column 4, does not equal to null, because as shown, because as shown, some of them are actually null. So if it does not equal to null, also inside here, I'm going to do system.out.print, and I'm just going to put them inside a square bracket like so, plus data 4 plus like that. I'm just going to close that, and then if we want, we just have an else, just have an empty else. Okay, so now I'm just going to run it again on the terminal, make a new one. I'm just going to see if it works. So do cd desktop, cd CSV reader, and then it's java employee system.java. Okay, and then okay, so now as you can see here, we have Sarah, for example. So since it's inside this if statement, which is if they are experienced and they are over points of 24, we can hear it says that Sarah, for example, it says salary to be negotiated. So if we go back to the CSV file, we can see here salary to be negotiated. So that is how you would display the comments if you wish to display the comments as well. Okay, so we've come to the end of the video. So I've shown you how to read in from a CSV file, and also how to use the hash map, and just how to split the data up into different columns and then be able to use them depending on the data inside. So I really hope you've enjoyed the video. Also, I'll be putting the code source and the CSV file inside my GitHub, which will be inside the description below. So feel free to use the code, and I hope it really helps you. Also, please give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and please subscribe for more further videos, which I hope to do in the future. So again, I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my other videos. Thank you.